still don't really know why I went along to my first pole dancing lesson. It was maybe because a friend asked me, or more likely out of nosiness. But within 6 months, I had a club to run, and the next 3 years, pole became my life. Never mind the minor medical degree simmering in the background, I'd found a passion I didn't know existed. I'd started my pole journey. I'd started taking pride in my body. I really enjoyed sport as a child. I did everything from swimming to netball to judo. However, as a teenager, I just lost interest. I went up to high school, and I was made to do hockey, and I wanted to be doing football, and running laps of the sports field in the cold northeast rain, it just lost its appeal. It wasn't until I went up to university in my early 20s that I sort of rediscovered fitness. Like most students, I got to try all the different clubs at Freshers Week, and something about pole dancing just stuck with me. I would be really awkward and really clumsy as I tried to gracefully spin around the pole. But I just laughed off with others in the class. For months, I would keep my leggings on. I was not getting my legs out or any skin out at all, no way. Which a lot of my students refuse to believe when, these days, they have to really battle with me to put on anything bigger than a pair of pants when I'm teaching them. I graduated from a medical degree, and I started my training as a junior doctor in my foundation years. And I realized I'm actually on two paths. One as a medic, and one as a pole dancer. Pole really taught me something about myself. I didn't know that I loved being strong. I didn't know that I could love fitness. I didn't know that I was confident, and I certainly didn't know that I could be body confident. I didn't know that I could hold an audience's attention by doing something I enjoyed. The same year that I graduated, I was offered a place on the founding committee of Pole Sports UK, which is the National Pole Sports Federation for Great Britain. Our main goal as Pole Sports UK is to be accredited as a sport by Sports England. We also have a longer-term goal of Olympic recognition. Competitions run by Pole Sports UK feed into the World Pole Sports Championships, where men and women from 10 years to 50 plus compete in their categories for the world's title. Pole Sports UK and getting to teach pole in the evenings, it just really cemented my passion for this sport. I'd be working as a doctor during the day, grinding out the hours in the hospital, and then I'd get to go and dance, and that was my release, that was my therapy. I could leave my stress at the door, I could go into the studio, I could teach for a few hours, and I'd leave just bursting with pride about what my students could achieve. It gave me the clarity I needed to do my day job. When I became a doctor, I thought I was going to be helping people. I thought that was going to be it. However, I found I was just increasingly frustrated at the public's lack of care for their own health. We all know the problems that increased weight causes, the medical conditions it can have problems with. And almost every patient I clocked into hospital had depression in their past medical histories. Again, we all know the problems about a sedentary lifestyle, about not eating the right foods. The media is constantly going on about the strain on the NHS, from rising conditions such as type 2 diabetes, heart failure, and this is all caused by things like not eating the right things, overeating, smoking, drinking. This is the same media that is the first to jump on any celebrity, no matter their body shape. It tells you and me to be critical of everyone and to be critical of yourselves. It's the same media that gives a platform for fashion that tells young girls and boys to starve themselves. We all know the benefits of exercise. We're told it all the time. However, we're now living in a world where we can work without moving. Our jobs are sedentary. And our foods are now packed with extra and unnecessary calories, but our bodies are still just as efficient at burning them slowly. And this is a problem. When looking at sports uptake in the UK, most surveys only ask about who's doing 30 minutes of exercise a week. 30 minutes. That's a surprisingly small volume for a fitness questionnaire. Sports England have reported trends that 10% less girls than boys are taking up sport. And the main reasons for this are body confidence issues, lack of idols and lack of their own personal confidence to go and do these sports. It's been debated in the Houses of Commons as to why young girls are dropping out of sport. So, my journey as a doctor, it made me realize that my part-time job as a pole instructor actually was more important than I gave it credit for. I had patients during the day and students at night, and they had the same problems. However, they just seemed to be tackling them differently. My patients during the day wanted a quick fix, a magic pill. They wanted me to fix them there and then, me to fix them, as opposed to my students who were just desperate to make themselves stronger so they could learn a new trick. Both had the same battles, but it just looked like my students were doing something about it. And this made me realize it's not about what pole has done for me, it's about what it has done for my students. And I realize this every single time I teach. My students come to classes because they want to do something different, they want to learn something taboo, they want me to make them sexy. But instead what happens is they learn self-worth and confidence, and with that comes empowerment and a purpose. They talk about how they suddenly realize what their body is capable of, and they amaze themselves with this. They amaze themselves with their own capabilities. And they want a body that is functional, not a body that society thinks is good enough. They talk about the community spirit in the pole world and how it actually changes their thinking, because a pole move might look easy, but actually, as well as physical capabilities required to do it, there's also a lot of problem solving. I have students who come to classes with their children and their grandchildren, and they tell me that they're the fittest they've ever been. Age is not a barrier. You don't have to be special to do pole, but over the years, some people just really stand out. Like a friend of mine who has multiple sclerosis, which is an progressive autoimmune disorder affecting the CNS. She's a teacher, and she started saying how she suddenly felt symptoms of fatigue, she had weakness down one side, she was really struggling with her mobility. She was getting really painful cramps and tremors in her muscles. Suddenly, she wasn't able to stand for long periods of time. She started walking with a limp, and just really simple tasks just became impossible for her. Her diagnosis was a huge blow on her confidence, and simple things like walking up and down stairs just became difficult. She started some medication, went into a period of remission, and was given the opportunity to come to a pole class. And she thought, well, why not? She knows how progressive, how spontaneous, and how debilitating her flares could be. And she thought, it's kind of now or never. And she said she's never looked back. At first, she came to class, she said she really struggled with the mobility thing, she really struggled with some stuff, especially on her weaker side. And you had to explain things more than once to her because her conditions also affected her cognitive function. However, she said over time, she started noticing her body change. She became strong, she got muscles on her weak side. She said her confidence just came back, and she didn't care if she made mistakes in class. She knew nobody was judging her. Nobody cared. And it just gave her such a boost. She now would stand in a class, in shorts, with marks on her legs from injecting her medication, and realize that nobody was looking. She said if she has one of her MS wobbles in class, there's always a pole to grab onto. She's just one of many stories over the years. I have lots of students who open up to me about their eating disorders and about how poles help them manage it. I had one student who wouldn't go to a normal class. She would only book a private lesson so that the only person who saw her was the instructor because she hated her body that much. It took months before she thought, do you know what? I'm going to try and go to a class with other people. And she was amazed at how welcoming and positive everyone was. These people are ruled by their insecurities and their diet. And pole is just giving them back a little bit more control. I have a fairly recent student, a new student, who was telling me about how her problem started when she went up to high school and she started developing curves, and she just wanted to be straight up and down skinny. She was desperate to come to a class, but she thought everyone would just say, you're fat. So she covered herself up in baggy, long clothing. As pole dancers, we quite like taking pictures of ourselves on the pole, and this is to mark our progress, to see what our moves look like. And she said that at first she was so embarrassed about these pictures that she couldn't even look at the camera when she was getting a photograph taken. But something just changed in her mind. She said she just started to love herself. She realized that, okay, if she put on a crop top and her stomach was out, there's also skin there, and it's skin that we grip the pole with. And if she can grip the pole, she can get better at pole. And then she suddenly realized she actually wanted to be better at pole than spending the rest of her life being insecure. The folk in the class gave her the confidence boost that she needed, and she now proudly looks at the camera when she's getting her photograph taken. She posts these pictures online on Facebook, and she tells her story. And I know that she's inspired at least more than a few people to change the way they look at themselves. I had a student who spoke for many when she spoke about how after years of depression, which also included hospital admissions, that pole just changed the way she thought. She suddenly realized that when she was faced with a new situation or something that previously she would have shied away from or terrified her, that once upon a time she told herself she would never be able to hang upside down. But she tried, and she failed. But she tried again, and she proved herself wrong. She's now not had a hospital admission for 3 years. So I'm so proud to be telling these stories. And I'm thinking, well, if I've got all these great stories, what's the problem? Why do I still have patients that are terrified about taking care of themselves and taking care of their health and happiness? And the problem is us. The problem is society. We can take a pole and we can turn it on its side. And bang in the middle, we can put this body ideal that we create. We create it, the media create it, and it's a false perfection. We don't realize that actually this is a spectrum with extremities on either side, and we're all somewhere on this line. The thing is, it's not about how close we are to perfection. That's what's not important, and that's not what makes these stories significant. It's the fact that they're taking autonomy for themselves, and they're making progress, and they're realizing their capabilities, and they're moving forward. They're taking pride in their bodies, despite the barriers that are put in front of them. And that's far more important than any false perfection that society could create. I definitely live in a big pole dancer bubble, where with my dancer friends, we build up each other's strengths. We build people up instead of pulling them down. And we focus on what we can do. We focus on being the best that we can, and it's not for you, it's for us. We don't accept any excuses from anyone, and we certainly don't accept excuses from ourselves. And the best bit about this is that this bubble is not exclusive, and you don't even need to be a dancer to get access. Everyone in this room has the tools to care about their well-being and their happiness. I'm now a doctor part-time, and I'm a pole dancer every minute that I can be. We all know the positive effects that exercise has on physical and mental well-being, so why not do something fun at the same time? Why don't we go grab a pole or go and find your passion and take pride in your health?